Welcome to this video. Today I'm going to show you how to make a basic white sauce and talk about some variations. The ingredients we need are 50 grams of butter or margarine, 50 grams of flour, 500 millilitres of milk. Some flavourings, I'm using parsley, lemon zest and Dijon mustard, and some salt and pepper. So the first job is to melt your butter or margarine, and I'm just using Flora here. You can use butter, that probably gives you the best flavour, but you can use whatever works for your food philosophy in your kitchen. It's also possible to use oil if you were going to use this method to make an onion gravy, for example. You'd start off with cooking your onions in oil rather than butter or margarine. So first melt it reasonably gently, you don't want it to burn. And I'm sorry, this is a little bit boring, so you can talk amongst yourselves for a minute. I'm better at cooking than I am at making videos. The flour that we're going to add is just plain flour. Again, you can be pretty flexible on what you use there. I mean, if self-raising is all you've got, that'll work. If you wanted to use gluten-free flour, if you were trying to cut your gluten, then I'd start off using 25 grams rather than 50, because that thickens up so much that 50 grams will give you a pretty solid sauce. So start with less then. So the flour goes in and you just stir it into the fat. This is called a roux, and it's a very useful thickening agent. It's handy for gravies and most sorts of thickish sauces. You want to stir it all around so it's evenly blended and no lumps. Make sure nothing's caught in the corners of the pan, and just let it cook for a couple of minutes so that some of the flour starts to cook out. Okay, now I'm going to add the milk. Now I've warmed the milk in the microwave. You can do this with cold milk, but it's more likely to get lumps. So for ease and speed, it's probably better to use it hot. I'm using oat milk because that's what we use in our house, but it will work with any of the vegan milks, any nut milk, soya, coconut milk. They will impart their own particular flavours, but you can use whatever you want. If you're a cow's milk user, that also is fine, and whatever fat content you're happy with. Obviously, a full fat milk will give you a richer sauce. So I'm just adding this very gently, a little bit at a time. If I threw too much in, then it's more likely to go lumpy. So I'm adding a small amount and just blending it in until there's no milk left apparent there. Initially, it will get really, really thick, and then as you add more milk, it will thin down and become smooth sauce. So make sure you're thorough in your stirring in. Keep checking the corners of the pan to make sure there's nothing stuck there, and just add a little at a time. So this is the basic recipe for many sweet and savoury sauces. Cheese sauce is probably the most common one, so you would use that for macaroni cheese or cauliflower cheese. And in that case, you would make your white sauce as we're doing now, season it, and then take it off the heat and add your cheese. If you carry on cooking with the cheese in there, it will split and some of the oil will come out of the cheese, which you really don't want. So that one comes off the heat. You could add some tomato puree to it. You could add other herbs, parsley sauce for fish, for example. Or you can use this method to make a sweet sauce. So you'd put some sugar in and maybe some orange or lemon zest, and possibly a bit more milk, so it was more custard consistency than a thicker sauce. And you could use that as a dessert sauce then. But in principle, it's always the same. You make a roux and you gradually add your liquid to it. If you wanted a lighter sauce, you could do this, and instead of using milk, you could use stock. My children both had a dairy intolerance when they were small, and I used to do this with vegetable stock and then carry on as normal. But you can just be flexible with it and make it to fit your requirements. Okay, so that's the last bit going in now, and I'm just going to make sure that there are no lumps and let it come up to the boil, and that will mean it will thicken as much as we need. Okay, and now I'm just going to add the flavouring ingredients there. I've got some chopped parsley, some lemon rind, mustard, and some lemon rind. And I'm just going to add some ground black pepper, and a bit of salt. And we're ready to go. I'll just check the seasoning on that, and if it's okay, it's ready to use. I'm going to use this to make a vegetable crumble, and there will be a video of that coming soon.